Shaun Greenhalgh was once a prolific forger. From ancient carvings to modern paintings, there was nothing he couldn't make.
Like putting in an old window.
But a spell in prison convinced him to renounce his past. So he's teamed up with Oxford historian Dr. Janina Ramirez
Oh my gosh!
to rediscover the secrets of the ancients and to try to match their skills. As for me, I'm Waldemar Januszczak, and my job is to keep tabs on them.
Have you worked in Melbourne?
It's a sunny morning in London, and Dr. Janina Ramirez has brought Shaun Greenhalgh to the Victoria and Albert Museum.
First time I saw it in Rome, I thought it was a mill chimney carved in marble.
Janina's speciality is early medieval art, and that's something they've got a lot of here.
The medieval galleries, fantastic, aren't they?
Aren't they beautiful?
Absolutely, yes.
Some of my favourite things are in these galleries.
Some of mine too.
And this is what I brought you here to see.
Oh, right.
The Nottingham alabasters, because they're alabaster and they're from Nottingham.
Absolutely, yes.
But it's rather a surprise, isn't it, to see such fabulous works of art coming out of England in the late medieval period when we don't really think of it as a cultural hotbed, do we?
And going all over Europe and all over the world, as it was then.
Yeah. And they are usually depicting very religious scenes,
Yes.
aren't they?
Church art, basically.
Church art, yes, yeah. Effigies and little figures of saints. Have you ever worked with alabaster before, Shaun?
Yes, mainly calcite alabaster, the stuff used in Egypt and the Middle East.
How's alabaster to work with?
It's very easy to work with, especially the Nottingham alabaster, because it's a gypsum alabaster. Whereas the calcite that the Egyptians used was harder than this, but this is... it can be a problem with the marl in it. It can crumble away and you can lose parts of it, so that's the only downside of it, but it is easy to work, just as it's like working wood, actually.
Oh, really?
It's similar hardness, yeah.
And the marl, the red clay, that gives it this sort of veiny appearance.
Yeah, it gives it its distinctive look.
And of course,
More
these would have been then, maybe you'd have had some gesso on there, some gilding,
Yes,
some
yes. They'd be quite gaudy, they would be.
Yeah.
Painted up in bright colours and gilding and reds and greens and all kinds of colours of the rainbow on them.
Now, you can see a range of different scenes here. I'm taken with these panels. They are sort of the traditional size for an alabaster panel, aren't they?
Yes.
Do you think you would be able to make something like that, Shaun?
Well, if I can get hold of the gypsum alabaster, I'll give it my best shot, and yes, I think so. Painted up and gilded, so they wouldn't look quite like these, a bit brighter colours, but would see them as it was originally made.
OK, well, I am excited. That is your challenge.
Right.
I want to see this completed.
Right.
Let's get on.
Will do. My best shot.
Brilliant. Let's get on.
Yeah.
In Oxford, Janina has been investigating the origins of Nottingham alabaster.
Nottingham alabaster becomes one of the defining elements of English medieval art. Really, it's at its high point in the 14th and 15th century. And there's a good geological reason for it, because running in a band up here, all the way across the country, is a layer of clay known as red marl. And that clay allows for deposits of gypsum underneath, which is a form of plaster, and alabaster. So you see red veins where the clay has sort of gone into the alabaster. That made it perfect for depicting figures. Gives almost like a skin tone quality to it. And Nottingham alabaster was very important in showing us that during this period of Catholic medieval England, they were making fine art. England was Catholic for 1,000 years, and yet in the 14th, 15th century, that's where it really gathers momentum, and we can see it in these pieces that are very Catholic in their subject matter. They often show scenes from the life of Christ or Mary, or images of saints. These were all the sorts of things that were targeted by Henry VIII under the Protestant Reformation. These were precisely the things he wanted destroyed, which means that very few of these Nottingham alabasters survive here in England. That is not the case on the continent, however. English alabaster appears in Iceland, in Poland, in Croatia, but most popular, it seems, in France. This shows that just for this glimmer, for this century and a half or so, England was at the centre of an extremely important artistic revolution.
14th century England may have been packed with Nottingham alabaster, but these days it's hard to find. So Shaun has come to the Fold mine in Staffordshire,
The original end, we're about half a mile away.
where Jim, the manager, is taking him deep underground.
Best reserves.
Do you ever have any collapses? Is it a common occurrence? Or...
No, this roadway is thoroughly inspected.
It's really interesting, this. I haven't seen anything like it.
Down here is the only place in Britain where Shaun can get the right alabaster. But you have to go very deep.
We're out here.
Right, yep. Disembark.
Fantastic.
So, Shaun, this is the travel route into the mine. It takes you to the modern workings,
Right.
which is some 7 or 8 kilometres further in. But this is the area where gypsum was mined for plaster manufacture, and
how-
also where we were mining the blocks of alabaster.
Right. How old would these workings be?
This will be late 19th century.
Right. They just followed the seams of gypsum as they
They
found
just
them?
followed the best rock.
Till they
so
worked
were-
out, yeah.
They were looking for the best quality rock.
And they would abandon it and just move on to try and find the next.
That's absolutely right.
Oh, terrific.
There's a simple test for alabaster. Alabaster's got these unique optical properties and it becomes translucent under light. So if you just turn your light off, Shaun,
Right.
and off.
Oh, yes, fantastic.
Here it starts to glow, and it's obviously the different shapes and crystals within the rock that made it so attractive. The marl that's above and below the seam actually infuses into the seam, and that's what gives it these unique sort of pink.
Yeah, it's very distinctive
here
Nottingham
in the
alabaster,
seam.
isn't it? If you see it anywhere in the world, you can see that it's a
Can instantly be picked out.
beautiful stone.
So, Shaun, you're looking for a piece.
I am, yes, to do a project. You could help me out with
I've
that.
got the technology to cut a piece as we did down there, and we might be able to find a piece from the side of the roadway.
Yeah, a rough piece would do it. I can cut it to shape.
Here, let's have a look here.
Right. These look promising. I'll knock my light off so you can... That's the best way you said, isn't it? To be able to see
just
it.
turn your light off, Shaun,
Oh, yes.
and then if you look at that,
It's a
the
beautiful
lovely
piece
glow
of
to
stone.
it. So if that's big enough, that
That would be
a-
ideal. Genuine Nottingham alabaster. Didn't think to get a piece of it, but that would be great. Once it's scrubbed up. Oh, yes. That's a fine piece of alabaster.
Okay, this piece is suitable then, Shaun.
Yeah, this is rather too large, Jim, but that'd be ideal. Thank you
Okay.
very much. That'd be great.
Right. We'll take this with us then.
Thank you very much. That's a great piece.
The next day, Janina arrives in Bolton to see the big lump of alabaster that Shaun has lugged home.
Hi, Shaun. Lovely to be in your home. Shall I come in?
Lovely weather.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So it's great.
Right, yeah. Got something to show you. You take a seat.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That is one hefty lump of rock. What are we looking at?
This is a piece of the gypsum alabaster from the mine I was at yesterday.
Oh my gosh. It's a huge slab.
It is. It's very, very heavy too.
And it's good to know they've still got sections like this, large enough to make a panel.
It's, demonstrate the translucency, possibly.
Yeah. Even on a lump like... Oh my gosh! Wow! So the colour really comes through that section in particular.
Yeah, that's the finest part of it.
That's amazing.
That's the marl in it. You can see the red on the end. That's what's distinctive about Nottingham alabasters. I've cut the end off because I have to cut it into a slab.
It's a remarkable piece of rock. What are you going to do with it?
Well, I've come up with a drawn design to scale, something of that nature.
Wonderful. So what are we looking at?
Well, an Annunciation panel, you know. It's the moment the angel Gabriel comes down to her to tell Mary she's going to give birth to Jesus. We have the lilies here, a pot of lilies symbolising purity, which was a standard thing then. Hail Mary, full of grace, on the banner. And she's raising her hand to acknowledge that she's heard him say what he's telling her while she's reading a book. Not the Beano, probably, but the Bible, most likely.
She's got serious, virtuous reading to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so you're going to do this with colour, with gilding?
Yes, as it would originally have looked. Dark coloured green background with a daisy pattern, red and white. How you see them now in the museums, that's not how they were at all, is it?
Yeah, so you're going to make it as it was?
Yes, as it was new.
New, brilliant. Gilded?
Could be, yeah.
Look at me trying to get gold into everything. I mean, this design looks absolutely fantastic, and it's going to look even better when it's coloured. I can't wait to see it. You need to get busy.
I do.
You've got work to do.
Sewing arm going, absolutely.
With the rock cut into shape, Shaun staggers to his workshop in a converted mill in Bolton, ready to start carving. The first task is to transfer his Annunciation drawing onto the stone. It's something he pulls off with some cheap and cheerful tracing paper.
The old timers would use prick and pounce. They'd like have an assistant to prick all the lines with dots and then a little bag of charcoal in muslin. They'd pounce it on and leave an image with little dots of charcoal. But this is just a modern convenience. They'd have used it if they'd have had it, I should imagine. Get the lilies in there. All right, we're going to the figures now. Let's have a quick look. Right, that's all done by the actual star of the show.
With the drawing transferred, Shaun grabs his saw and starts cutting the block.
This is just an ordinary wood saw because the alabaster is probably as hard as a middling hardwood, not particularly hard at all.
And with that done, he pulls out his trusty drill and attacks the rock.
This is like the most labour-intensive part, to chain drill it down. The reason for chain drilling like this is to weaken the structure and to remove as much of the material as quickly as we possibly can. Now we have 2 holes, filled the first one, but of no matter, it's only dust. Now we'll carry on down to here. So we'll drill the holes, then we can knock the actual pieces out in between. It's like a honeycomb, so that makes it so much easier. I'm using an electric drill, obviously, but the old timers would use a bow drill, just like a bent piece of wood with a string and the actual drill bit within the bow, so as you move it like a violin, I suppose. It must have taken an age compared to the speed that I can use this. Right, I've drilled all the holes with the chain drilling. It's just to get rid of the material now. Well, this gives us a chance just to start to remove the honeycomb. We'll start to knock the honeycomb out. So it just crumbles. And if I hit it on a solid area, you'd probably go a millimetre in with one blow. But with this, see, we're getting half a centimetre with every blow. How much out of it? You can see we're already down an inch. So that's halfway down to the baseline that we want to go. The next stage would be to carry on with this chain drilling all through the, I'll hatch the area, this is all to come out. So I'll have to get on with the chain drilling, and when you come back, it should be on its way.
To get his eye in with the Nottingham alabasters, Shaun has come on a day trip to Haddon Hall in Derbyshire. He's arranged to meet Brian the guide, who's going to show him round.
Hi, you must be Brian.
Hello, Shaun.
Hi, Brian.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thank you.
Oh, welcome to Haddon Hall, Shaun.
Thank you, Brian. It's a wonderful place.
It is. This is the picture that everyone wants when they come here. They want to
No
see it.
wonder.
And this building was built in 1370.
It's older side. Wow.
Welcome to our chapel.
Thank you very much. Oh, what a wonderful space.
Before they were brought back to Britain by the owners of Haddon Hall,
This is St Nicholas.
the superb alabasters here were preserved miraculously in a church in Iceland.
They were purchased by the 9th Duke in about 1933. When he got them, they were all boxed up. We think they're original 15th century Nottingham alabaster, which I think is a gypsum. Okay, so it's what the period that you're looking at. We've got 9 scenes in front of us here, and we believe that at one stage there are possibly 11.
Right.
Although we don't know where those other 2 are. And it's the Passion of Christ, the Crucifixion, etc.
Yeah. They're in fantastic condition compared to what we normally see.
These, when they were purchased, were actually framed in boxes. And these ended up in Iceland, we think, after the Reformation. They were squirreled away there.
For their own protection,
For
otherwise
their
they
own
wouldn't have
protection,
survived, don't
yeah.
they? Excellent.
Yeah.
So rare survival.
Apart from the odd nose, which is...
Right, but it's nothing compared to most of them haven't survived at all, or just in fragments, haven't they? You
Very
rarely
proud
see
of
them
them.
in the colours.
Yeah.
I've noticed the gilding on them, Brian.
Well, do you know, we rarely come this close, and it's amazing. I mean, if I put my torch on, I bet we can really pick up that, yeah, you can see it really shining. And we rarely get to see it this close.
Peppered through each panel, isn't it? Just
Yeah.
to pick up the highlights. And
It is.
This looks like genuine, original 15th, 14th century gilding because the blisters within it. That's what you get with the old gilding.
Okay.
When they apply it, it's much thicker than the modern gilding, and over the time it starts to blister and come off. And I'm sure
It's
that's
repeated again on all, and this
Yes.
one has got in the framework around the side. Stunning.
when they're absolutely brand new, it would absolutely sparkle.
Wouldn't it,
glitter,
Jeff?
wasn't it? Yeah, with
Yeah.
candlelight. Great stuff.
Refreshed and inspired by Haddon Hall, Shaun has speeded up work on his Annunciation.
Since you were last here, I've got on with it a little bit. You can see the castellations I've done there. Got it down there. And this is, as far as I've managed to get, about 2 days' work. You can see the lilies starting to be formed. And then you can see this figure is blocked out. I put his wing in there, but with no feather detail in it at the moment. So I have to take all this out that I've cross-hatched by now, and then start to carve the figures. I've only ever made one other piece in gypsum alabaster, and that was a Nottingham alabaster. I found the block in a dry stone wall in Derbyshire, actually, because you couldn't just get it from any quarries then. We've been very lucky to get this piece from Fold Quarry. But the other things I worked in is something called calcite alabaster, which is a slightly harder, more translucent, and it doesn't have all these marls in it, so it is a very beautiful stone. The Egyptians used it. It's used in the Middle East today as well, the finer things. Right, I've taken out most of the background now. There's just a small amount left here. So we'll have to take that out, then I can get at the angel's head and start carving that in the round body. Oh, damn it. These are the things that happen. See, it's very, very marly. That's where it's gone through. You can see the brown line given way. But that's a happy accident because it's come away. So as I said, that's the highest point, the elbow. So I would have to take that down anyway, so that would have been removed. So it's kind of saved me a job. But it slows everything down when you hit the marl. You haven't got X-ray vision, so you just have to go around the chin. You see it's flaking with the marl. In the worst possible place, this. Damn it. I'll take that out. Right, that's what I've got to. Just a suggestion of the arm and the elbow. The face will have to take very much time with the marl in it. So it's a long process and a slow process. I'm going to have to take my time with it. But that's as far as I've got for now.
A week later, there's some grim news from Bolton. The marl, which made Nottingham alabaster so special, had impacted dramatically on Shaun's plans.
Well, this is the alabaster panel, but I've had a massive disaster with it. I'll turn it around and show you what's left of it. Just the architectural framework. I've had to take all the figures away. The face is just crumbled away. It's like carving in brown sugar. Absolutely impossible. And the band runs right through where it shouldn't have been. There's good alabaster here, right where the figures were. Complete disaster. So the only thing I can think of, I have another piece of alabaster. I'll have to have a good look at it and cut some good pieces out of it if I can manage it. And the only solution to that is to carve the figures separately and put them in on dowels, wooden dowels. The old timers did that, especially with heads when they replaced different figures, putting new heads on and whatever. So it's the only solution because I can't get another block of alabaster.
I see the couples dancing through the night. They hold each other tight as they dance all along until the morning light. The soft embraces that they seem to share just make me feel aware of the loneliness I find so hard to bear.
Is the wing broken off?
Oh, see, it's so full of fractures, it's impossible to work with. It's absolute shite. See, there's a fracture there, that could go at any moment. That's what I'm dealing with. It's absolutely just crumbling away. It's usually pretty tough stuff, you know. The f am I going to do with this? I really don't know what to do. I usually think of a solution, but I'm just lost for words. I don't know what to say.
After 3 weeks of deep despair, Shaun finally works out how to complete his Nottingham alabaster. He's been busy in the studio and is ready to confront us with a big surprise.
Right, since the disaster of last time, I've had to redesign it and recut the figures in Spanish alabaster, calcite alabaster rather than gypsum as the background is. Calcite is easier to carve than gypsum alabaster. It's slightly harder, but it cuts better. It's much finer grain, so you can get the finer detail into it. So this is the figures as they are on the background now. I've recut the Virgin inside profile. I think it suited it better. I've changed the design. I always change designs in when they never end up looking like the drawing. So the angel is almost the same, the inscription here. But the reason I had to cut the figures is you can see now that they're done. The fineness of detail in the faces, it just couldn't be cut in this. It just crumbled away with the nose, the mouth, the very fine facial details. So I've recarved those. So the last thing to do now is to paint it. So we'll get on with that. Right. I'm going to paint it in a traditional manner with egg tempera. First of all, we need an egg, obviously. These are hen eggs. They're traditionally used duck eggs. Crack it, hopefully, without breaking the yolk. I'm not a cook, so you'll have to bear with me if I break 1 or 2 yolks. Just let the white run away. Oh well, now. Try and burst the yolk and run it in there. Now, the powder colour to go in next. It has to be left to dissolve over a period of about 3 days. It'll just go frothy. So we'll do that. We may need more, but I just want to check the intensity. We'll stir that in. Like I said, it's very grainy, but it will dissolve over a period. People forget when they see these things and the paint's almost completely worn away, they think that they're actually just a stone, but they were painted really gaudily, something like off a fairground attraction. I've decided on the colour scheme. The angel is going to be in yellow, and obviously the Virgin in blue, and a bit of gilding splashed around here and there, and a green background with a little daisy pattern. Right, starting with the dark green first of all. You can't hang about with temporary, you've got to kind of wazz it on it, like I said, it dries quickly, innit? But this is what they traditionally use, so we're going to have to use it. It will look shockingly garish when it's painted. This green is quite subtle, but the rest of the colour will be very, very bright. I suppose the dullness of the everyday lives meant they wanted something very bright. Right, we'll get the daisy pattern in. It's always a red dot in the centre, surrounded by 5 white dots. You see it on all medieval art, especially on Nottingham alabasters. The backgrounds are always green with this daisy pattern on them. I don't know why, I don't know what the tradition is behind it, but that's the way it is. So another couple of days painting, get on with the figures, and we'll have it finished. Last stage, a little bit of gilding, give it a bit of bling, and we're done.
True to his word, a couple of days later, Shaun arranges to meet Janina in the medieval galleries at the V&A. She's heard all about his problems, but not a word about his solutions.
Well, I do not know what to expect. Over the past month, poor Shaun has had so many troubles with this alabaster. All I can do is wait and see. Shaun! This is the moment. I have been looking forward to this. How has it been?
I've had a few problems with it.
I heard.
Yeah, I think the block of alabaster had been shocked, so it was fractured, and as I was cutting the figures, it kind of crumbled away. I've got the architectural detail in it, but the figures I've had to recut in Spanish alabaster. You can't tell now it's all been painted, it just looks as one, so...
So I'm excited because it's painted. This is going to be, very different from what we're like. Yeah.
You can see here.
Oh my goodness, I
So,
can't wait to
you
see
ready?
it. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, I can't get over it.
Very blingy, isn't it? Not much like we see here.
Incredible. Shaun, it's amazing. I can't believe it.
Brightly coloured, isn't it?
The colour. I mean, this has just blown apart my preconceptions of ancient art, really, because, I mean, I'm just so impressed by how bright it is, but it's almost garish, isn't it?
Yeah, fairground art, yeah.
Fairground art.
Yeah.
But the detail, good grief, look at the detailing here. I love how you've carved in the side of the throne. When we look at them like this, they've lost all the detail. They've lost the storytelling.
Absolutely, yeah. They've lost it, yeah.
Yeah, because now, I mean, look at the drama on the angel's face. It's
Well, I've tried to
amazing.
get the shock and awe in the Virgin's face,
Yeah.
because you can imagine being told you're having a child before you've had a man. It would be shocking, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
Kind
it's a
of,
pretty
yeah.
dramatic moment, yeah. I'm absolutely overwhelmed. And again, I think the thing that I always took for granted was that when I see an alabaster, it's got that kind of veiny, clear, almost sort of translucent, fleshy feel.
None of it would have been seen.
None of it would have been seen.
No, completely covered over.
It's just the sort of the basis for the art that sits on top. Really, it has blown my expectations of medieval art.
Good.
Wide apart.
No, thank you.
Well, listen, you have done it. This one's done. So, on to the next one.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Went to college, studied art. To be an artist, make a start. Studied hard, gained my degree. No one seemed to notice
my
me.
gosh.